Yeah, I know.
Pieces.
Okay, there we go.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. We'll give it just a couple of minutes to see who shows up, if that's okay. Ruth's going to hang out with me for a while, and then you might go get lunch, maybe. Yeah. How's everybody doing? Everybody holding up okay? Can you hear us, by the way? Always, be sure and give us feedback about our mics. I'm trying to make sure that we can be heard, and I know that Ruth tends to be quieter than me, and I want to make sure that you're able to understand the conversation. Okay, just reading comments. So a bit of a change in plans. I'll make a dress for my vintage skipper doll as opposed. Oh, cool. Weird echo. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. Maybe, are we sitting too close together? Is that better?
Is that better?
Yeah, please keep giving us feedback about the audio. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to join, but I thought I would just do a little introduction here while we're waiting. So Ruth and I thought we would go live today to do an AMA. Ruth is going to work on drawing and I have my knitting. We'll see how that goes. I have a pattern that is, I'm working on a chart part of the pattern and it takes a lot of attention. So last time I tried to do it on live, it was a little bit of a fail. I actually made several mistakes and had to pick it out. So we thought we would just talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. I was going to go to a protest down at ICE today, and I was sick last week, and I'm having an awful lot of side effects from the medication that I'm on. And so I just thought, not a great time to ride the Max all the way downtown and hang out at the ICE facility, and then ride the Max all the way home. It just was a high risk scenario for me. So I thought I would do this instead. And then all of the ad revenue from this live, I'm going to donate to PERC. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. That is the Portland Immigrant Refugee Coalition. Let's see if that works. And they do a lot of good work down at the ICE facility, helping immigrants know their rights, work through that process as they show up to their hearings and meetings down there. And then they do a rapid response training all around Oregon. They're a really, really good org that needs a lot more support. So thank you if you are watching an ad in order to access this live, or if YouTube decides to break in with an ad during the middle of it, please know that you being willing to take whatever 15 or 30 seconds to do that is enabling me to then donate to PERC. So we'll see how that works out. I will obviously post the receipt of how much I earned from ad revenue and then was able to donate to them. If you on your own are interested in supporting PERC, please, they could use your love. They could use a lot of help. They're really, really strapped and they do incredibly good work here. Do I have a mailing address for gifts? Yes, give me just a second. Thank you. I will answer that in just a second. So I want to make it really clear for this live, it's AMA. So whatever you want to ask, we might not answer it right but you're welcome to ask whatever you want. I don't have a necessarily, hi Ruth, where are you going? Okay. I don't necessarily have a set topic for this live, so I'm open to discuss whatever you're interested in. Guessing the laptop mic is on. I think it's because the receiver is really close. Is there still an echo for people, or are you doing okay? Feel free and let me know. So feel free and drop your questions in the chat or subjects that you want to talk about. No echo. Thank you very much. Do I have a mailing address? I need to set up a PO box. I don't have one yet, but it is on the list of things to do this year, right? It was on the list of things to do for the last couple of years, and I haven't gotten around to it. Hello in Norway. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you, Hannah. Okay, so today is International Women's Day, right? So if y'all, well, it's being celebrated today, but yeah, today's the 8th.
Oh, I think it's on the 8th.
Yeah, today's the 8th. So if you have questions around that, or you have questions around what's happening at the ICE facility, if I don't get a ton of questions, I actually have news about the ICE facility in Portland, and it's all good news. So I will make sure to make time for that. Let's see. I think that always comes. Okay. What are some of your most frugal meal ideas? Thank you for the question. Okay. Do you have thoughts, Ruth, as someone who eats what I cook?
we ate a lot of crock pot and instant pot legumes growing up.
Mhm.
Especially, well, it depends if you're just feeding yourself or if you need to feed a lot of people, because that kind of changes. If
Mhm.
there's like a lot of kids in the house, we do like if there's a lot of kids in the house, we would do like a big thing of some type of legume, bean, split pea, and then like one ham hock to give it more flavor and some protein.
Mhm.
And then it'd be like rice.
Mhm. We ate a lot of beans. So for years and years,
Yeah.
we ate very little meat until we could afford to buy a quarter cow for a couple of years and then half a cow. It was actually Ruth's doctor that recommended that she get more animal-based protein in her diet. And so we made the commitment to save up. And a friend of mine suggested a local farmer who's about 35 minutes north of here who has grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And it's a really good deal. So for years, we purchased a quarter cow, and then the last 3 years, we've done a half a cow because everybody in the house is adult sized. But for many, many years, it was Instant Pot. I'm a huge fan of the Instant Pot. I kind of want to do a deep dive on them because they made such a good product that they ran themselves out of business. Instant Pot pinto beans with anything from the garden, so shredded kale or shredded zucchini, summer squash, pumpkin, anything I could mix in there to get more veggies for the kids, and then rice. A lot of one pot meals when my kids were little, a lot of lentils, and a lot of split pea soup with one ham hock in it. And I will say we did for a long time, we did a Wednesday dinner with folks from our church. And if I was in charge of the main dish, it always was going to be coconut curried lentils, very affordable and really nutritious, a lot of veggies in it. So red lentils and carrots or sweet potatoes or pumpkin, whatever was in the garden. Kale, I put kale in everything, right? Loads of kale.
Zucchini.
Yeah, shredded zucchini because it doesn't taste like anything. Tomatoes, and then a can of coconut cream. And then it feels really rich and decadent, and you have all of that good curry flavor and garam masala mixed into it. But it's really, really affordable. It's really affordable protein. So those are sort of our cheap, easy meals. All are legume based.
Yeah, and those are also, so those are more angled for like feeding like 6 or 7 people on a budget. Because it's still then like a can of coconut cream. It's still gonna run you like $4 now.
Yeah, but at the time it was like $1.29. Yeah, they've gone up a ton. Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Is this the signal for me to not talk or to keep talking?
Oh, you can keep talking. Okay, sorry.
Well, when I lived alone, I would eat. My struggle meal was, I would have soup base, so like a jar or a bottle of concentrated soup that would last me months. And then I would have frozen sausages and brown sugar, and I would use those to make a soup. And then I would just add whatever I had into it, so like an egg,
bok choy, cabbage.
Usually, a lot of times it was like kale from the garden because I would come home on the weekends and get it.
That's when you were living by yourself.
Yeah. This is my meal routine. I would have soup base, and then I would add a frozen sausage and sugar to give it more flavor because it's kind of just salt water.
Miss Pennywiser says, "Is that your child?" This is Ruth, my eldest child. She's 23. She looks exactly like my mother. She's a spitting image of my mother. Doesn't look anything like me. So, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going. I just had a couple questions. So.
Oh, yeah, and then I would just add whatever to that. So, like, the bottle of soup base was really cheap, and then the sausages were really cheap. And then I could just add whatever veggies I had to it.
People say she looks just like me. I don't think so. She looks just like my mom.
Glasses.
Okay, so someone said hi from the Oregon coast. Hello. I don't know if y'all heard the news. I posted it on Instagram this morning. Lincoln County, which is where we used to live on the central Oregon coast, successfully got ICE to drop their attempt to put a detention center in Newport, Oregon. The city council, the mayor, the residents of Newport have been pushing back vigorously for months. And finally, ICE was like, this is too much trouble. And they decided to back out. They're no longer pursuing a place to put a detention center on the Central Oregon coast. So that's a huge, huge win for people here in Oregon. And I think that we're seeing that all over the country, right? That's one of the reasons I talk about local resistance being so important, is that you can make a huge impact right where you are. If they're coming for your community, that's where you have the most leverage and the most ability to stop their attempt to escalate and to roll over and to take over your community. So I'm so proud of the people of Newport. Yeah. Okay, so I see there's some comments. First of all, thank you so much for being willing to go back and forth with other people in the comments. I can't always catch everything. And I've noticed that YouTube live streams are different than on other platforms, and that people will have conversations. It feels a little bit more community based. People are willing to engage with each other and answer questions or have a conversation in a way that feels really respectful. So thank you for being willing to do that. I do want to say, let's remember the permaculture ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share as we're engaging with each other in the comments. There were questions about the election in Texas, the primary in Texas, particularly the discourse going on online about James Tallarico winning the primary against Jasmine Crockett. And I know a lot of people saw my video, it went really, really viral on Facebook, where I'm a big Jasmine Crockett fan, and I was really in support of her and excited to hear that she was running for Senate. So when she first announced, I made a big video. And so people were like, well, how do you feel about her losing? I think the issue is really complicated. So I referenced in a video that came out this morning that a couple of my mutuals have made videos expressing concern about the ways that they are seeing discourse online, a lot of it from anonymous accounts, right? That are saying, well, I'm not going to vote in the general election because Jasmine didn't win the primary. And I think that that's a really concerning statement to make, right? And I don't know, for me, I asked in my video this morning, like, who benefits from that rhetoric? And I think it's one thing to see the Black community having a conversation about disenfranchising voters in Texas, and the way that especially Black women who are really skilled legislators, right? Jasmine Crockett is an incredibly skilled legislator and does a lot of good in Congress, face an uphill battle. And that there is still the preference all across America to pick a white, like a white conservative Christian man, or even a white liberal Christian man over anybody else. And so I think that it's a really, really complicated conversation. I am concerned a little bit about how many of the comments online, because the ones I'm seeing in the comments of my friends' videos, they're all anonymous accounts. And I'm concerned about whether there is some bad acting going on there. Who benefits by telling Black Americans not to bother to vote, or any Democratic voter? Who benefits by telling them they should stay home and not vote? Because there was a lot of that rhetoric online in the 2024 election, people saying don't turn out to vote for Kamala Harris because of her position on Gaza. And ultimately that benefited Trump. So it's a really complicated conversation. I'm always suspicious of anybody who is trying to tell people not to exercise their rights. That's sort of where I was coming from in that. So I don't know if that answered the question. Yeah. And I think that we have to be really well aware of what happened in Dallas County. We have to be really well aware of the fact that Republicans are going to try and suppress the vote, and they're going to get up to shenanigans. And also being really well aware of the fact that Ken Paxton is a nut job. He is a radical far-right Republican, and he's going to do everything that he can to erode free and fair elections. He's already trying to lay the groundwork to say that James Tallarico didn't fairly win the primary. And then if he wins the general election, Ken Paxton is going to say, see, it's been rigged all along. He wasn't duly elected. Therefore, we're going to step in and we're going to decide who wins, and it will be a Republican. So that's a real concern that I have. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Ruth. I know you don't like when necessarily yap about politics. People are asking if you could show your sweater, I think.
Yeah.
Because you have long hair and it's covered.
It's how of it. And it's what you're knitting.
That's what I'm knitting right now. I'm knitting a version for me. Mine's green and pink. And Ruth Ruth wanted one that was...
Initially, I also wanted one that was green and pink, but then I changed my mind when we went to the yarn store in Eugene and I saw it's blue.
Yeah, we went to the yarn store in Eugene. We were taking B to college and her sister to college, and they didn't have enough green. Remember, they didn't have enough skeins of green. And so you switched to the blue and the oatmeal, which is more like a real halibut color. And then I thought it was such a good idea. I was like, oh, I need more. I have a lot of green sweaters, but I was like, I need another green sweater. So I'm making one in green and pink. Yeah.
And then I saw a native bee, or actually it might have been a native wasp, in the yarn store that was like half dead. So
you rescued it?
Yeah. Put it on a flower.
Yeah. The pattern is the halibut cardigan. This is meant to be done on much heavier yarn, and I changed the pattern a little bit. I don't know if, can you stand up so I can see? Or like, so I added more details. I changed the chart a little bit because I thought that it wasn't busy enough and it could be a little bit more complicated. So thank you. And then this is Cascade 220 wool. Originally, I think they did it on an Aran weight or a bulky weight yarn, and it looked too chunky. So I reworked the pattern. So it's a, different gauge, and I'm doing it on worsted weight Cascade 220. And I like Cascade 220 because it felts when you're wearing it. Would you mind unbuttoning so people can see the steeking? This is a steeked cardigan for people who aren't knitters. Thanks for letting me jump around from politics to knitting, by the way. For people who aren't knitters, steeking is where you knit the whole sweater in the round. You can see the steek I've started here. Hang on. You knit the whole sweater in the round, and in order to turn it into a cardigan, you cut this part with scissors and you sew it down. And so here's the steeking on the inside. You cut the cardigan down the middle and then you add the button band. So if you have a wool that's really, really felty, then this is not going to unravel as easily. I don't know if you can see in the feed, I do a line of crochet stitches in another color to reinforce the steek, and then I cut it up the middle. But then you kind of just let it felt a little bit, and it's really, really secure. So if you're going to do a steeked cardigan, you don't want to pick like a super wash yarn or a non-wool yarn that has the potential to unravel. Yeah, scissors. It's really the first time you steek a sweater, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because you've spent hours and hours and hours doing this color work, Fair Isle, what have you, pattern, and then you're like, I'm going to turn this into a cardigan, and you just cut up the middle, and right, you don't want to screw it up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so people ask me all the time, I think I have a video about this. This is the Pearl, okay, this is going to be loud for a second. Pearl Soho bandana cowl. It's a free pattern, and I made this, oh my gosh, 12 or 15 years ago. So it's really, really easy. It's knit on circulars. This is really worn out. I don't know if you can see. I've actually had to tack the middle in because it's gotten so stretched out. I've washed it dozens and dozens of times. And I'm going to knit another one. This is really, really faded, and it's getting pretty worn out because I made it 12 years ago. Really easy pattern. I've made several of these for gifts. You can knit them in 2 days easily.
People said they like my tie. I got it at the thrift store on the OSU campus when I went to stay with my old roommates. Pretty cool.
Ruth likes ties.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like ties, purple ones. It's kind of abstract.
Is the pattern on Ravelry for the bandana cowl? I think that you can find it. It's on Pearl Soho's website. And this pattern, the halibut cardigan, is on Ravelry. I think it's $10 maybe. There's also, they have a top-down yoked sweater that I don't like. It creates bat wings where the fish pattern is up here at your neck in the round. And then I think it's too deep. There's a lot of people who've been frustrated with the pattern. So I decided that the cardigan would be better for me. Do you know of any flat knitted projects that can be done really well? I've knit a lot of sweaters flat. In fact, the first couple of sweaters that I made were knitted flat. And then I got really tired of having to seam up the arms. And so I pretty much exclusively do sweaters in the round now. And my preference is the cat boardy method where you use 2 circular needles. Because I'm doing the body of this sweater and because I'm a little bit of a bigger person, I can get away with using one circular. But as I get to the sleeves, I'm going to need to do 2 circulars. It's just so much quicker to just knit, 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 and never have to purl. And in particular, when you are knitting color work, you really don't want to have to purl. I hate doing color work flat and then you have to purl across the back and try and remember what you were doing and not mess up. So doing color work in the round is really easy because you only ever knit, you never have to purl because the right side of the work is always facing you. Sorry, can I say one more thing about knitting?
Yeah.
Is that okay? You can draw too if you're bored.
I need a pillow or something.
You need a pillow?
So cute.
To put it in your lap. Do you want to go get a book or something?
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing color work in the round, it's really easy to pull the 2 pieces of yarn, the working yarn and then the yarn in the back, too tight, and you end up with a sweater that doesn't fit when you're done. And so for me, what I always do, normally when you're knitting that in the round, the outside of the work is facing you. And then it's really easy to pull too tight. So I actually flip it inside out and I have the outside of the work facing out and I have the outside of the work facing in toward me and the inside of the sweater is facing out and that stretches it a little bit. And then I'm really intentional about not pulling too tight and then it fits. Yeah. Yeah. Happy to talk about politics and knitting, whatever you want. Okay. Thanks for letting me talk about that. Definitely any questions, and thanks for giving me a second to catch up. How do you do color work in the round when the chart itself is not in the round? You're still just knitting in the same direction. So you don't have to knit down and then back. You're just continually going from right to left on the chart. I'm here for the wisteria pruning tips. Thank you. That's a video I did ages ago, and that's still it's still a very popular video. So is my lilac pruning video. I don't actually have a wisteria anymore. That was at my parents' house. And when I was in charge of their gardening, I would do the wisteria pruning. And I miss having a wisteria, but I'm not interested in putting one on the front of my house because they're an absolute beast and you have to prune them constantly or they'll be all over the place. I do think they're gorgeous. I think the best place ideally for a wisteria is not where my dad put his right up against the house, but is out in the yard over maybe like a pergola or a gazebo, an independent structure that means that the wisteria is not going to run up under your roof line and like literally lift the roof off your house.
They're kind of like willows.
They are like willows. They're also like kiwi vines are the same way. I would never grow a kiwi vine on my house. My kiwis are out on T trellises over where my woodshed used to be. I'm going to build a new woodshed, but I'm not anywhere near the house. In fact, when Ruth and B were little, we went to a permaculture. Our local permaculture guild used to have a lot more like community work days and people would all get together and volunteer to help out in each other's yards. And one of those included help. I've let my, they weren't hardy kiwis, they were fuzzy kiwis. I've let my fuzzy kiwis go way too long and they've taken over the entire back of my house. So a group of maybe 6 or 8 of us got together and pruned it off the back of their house. It was quite a job. The kiwi had grown up and under the eaves and was literally trying to pull the siding off the house. So yeah. Kiwis are vines. In fact, they're really, really vigorous vines. Most vines are going to be aggressive. Think of grapes, right? They're going to grow in the understory and they're going to want to use a tree for support. And they're scrambling to get up to the sun so that they can photosynthesize. And that means most of your vines, even like a kibia, definitely kiwi, definitely grapes, definitely wisteria, they're going to be really aggressive growers because they're trying to get up above the tree canopy and get into the sunshine. And that means they often need intense pruning. My kiwis get pruned 3 times a year. And even so, it's a project. I have several kiwi pruning videos. Yeah, maypops are the same way. Yeah, passion vine. I was thinking about planting some passion vine, but not sure if it would fruit in the Willamette Valley. The flowers are so pretty. One of my neighbors has one. She has a long chain link fence and she grows hers across her chain link fence for the same reason, not going to get up on her house. I have some thoughts about that. I find pruning off of a chain link fence to be really difficult. I have some grapes that I've grown up over chain link and it's a pain to prune them. Hers will flower, they don't fruit. I think the season is a little bit too short and it gets cool too quickly. And so in all of the years that she's had her passion fruit, I've never seen it actually fruit. I mean, it's set like immature fruit, but they don't mature. Yeah. Yeah, my EMDR therapist recommended knitting because the action mimics cross-body communication, and we need to process our traumas better. This is fascinating to me. Without getting into too much detail, I'm actually starting to see a trauma therapist next week for EMDR, and I will bring that up to her because I find knitting to be incredibly therapeutic. If I'm really distressed, if I'm in a position where I'm just having an absolute, I don't want to say meltdown, if I'm having a really hard time focusing, then knitting is something that I find really grounding and really centering, very soothing. I have a video about knitting as a form of stemming, like that it's kind of the original stem, a productive stem that produces something. So what do you think about that? Sorry, I'm ranting so much and you're not even getting a word in edgewise. I'm sorry.
I don't really knit. I've done a couple things, but it's not really my thing. I'm more needle felt, and I pretty much agree with what y'all are talking about.
Do you find needle felting to be a stem?
I do. I find it can even be really mindless. Like some crafts are more involved. Like there's some crafts where like you can have a conversation or watch something and do it, and there are ones where it also requires your brain. I actually find I can needle felt without really using my brain, as long as I know what project I'm making. So it actually really helps me focus in class if I'm in a Zoom class, because basically like whatever I hear the teacher say, I can then look at the project and remember exactly what they said. But it's like way too involved to bring to physical class, unfortunately, so I can't do that.
And it's loud.
Yeah, it's loud, it's weird, it's big, and I don't know.
Well, because you're needle felting big things right now.
Yeah. Well, even if I'm doing something small, it's so loud, and I have to bring foam in the back of
of roving, yeah.
Knitting is more convenient for class. I just do it in class.
I find if I'm knitting on stream or like when I'm making videos, if I'm doing just straight knitting, that's really mindless. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to pay attention, and it becomes very automated like that. It's very soothing, but none of my active processing is invested in it. Doing color work, I have to pay attention, or lace work. So I typically have a kind of more mindless project, like maybe a cowl going. And then I'll also have a more involved project. It's just that right now, I don't have a mindless project to do on stream. And so I'm hoping to get through this color work section this week. And then when I work on the sleeves, I'll just be like, go.
Yeah, it's sort of the same with drawing. Like right now, I don't have anything mindless to do. If I'm coloring a drawing, or sometimes the line art, that is completely mindless. Like I hardly even have to look at it. I can have a conversation. But if I'm doing the sketch, then I need my brain.
You have to pay attention.
Or like the final colors. Like coloring in the lines doesn't.
Can people see what you're drawing?
This is
it too dark? You can turn the brightness up.
Yeah. I actually have not really drawn anything yet. This is an old I'm drawing furries based on
I don't know if it'll show up.
Howl's Moving Castle acrylic nails. I don't know, that's kind of weird, but I started this like 2 years ago, and I literally don't have any other work in progress other than my commissions.
I'm not answering the phone for my homie.
Sorry,
Trish. Okay, hang on a second. Let me make sure that this didn't mess up the stream. It's trying to ring my phone through on my laptop. What pattern? It's the halibut cardigan pattern. Sorry for folks who are late. My favorite mindless activity is crocheting. I also love knitting. Okay, so my brain doesn't work well with crochet. I don't know what it is. It's not intuitive to me the way that knitting is. I've never become a crocheter. Trish isn't watching the stream. Yeah, Trish, get on the stream. No, she actually often will hop on and say hi. Sometimes my other kid B will hop on and say hi. Yeah, crochet. It's just a different kind of 3-dimensional craft, and it doesn't work that well for me. There is no off-topic question. This is an AMA. I watched another video, and I'm trying to find the channel you mentioned. Folding ideas. His name is Dan Olson.
Dan Olson.
Yeah. So folding ideas, and the topics that he covers are a genre of YouTube called BreadTube. And maybe you have more insight as to why they call it BreadTube or about BreadTube? Because you introduced me.
I actually didn't even know that term until my sister told me.
Mm-hmm.
It might genuinely be because the most popular one is called Folding Ideas. So I don't know, made it folding dough. I literally have no idea. But it's adjacent to like Philosophy Tube. Or maybe Philosophy Tube is a person. I don't know. Well, basically, it's just a sort of loose friend group of video essayists on YouTube that make these really long, really in-depth video essays. And like, the video essay economy has like been ruined in the past 5 years. People will just like throw up any slop, and
they'll have AI write it.
Even if it's not AI written, they'll be like analysis, and then it's just describing what happened, and there's no analysis. That is very frustrating. But BreadTube is actually, they do a ton of research. They have writers, they have tons of sources. It'll literally be like 4 hours long, and it'll be on a topic nobody's talked about before. So it's like basically like really investigative journaling. They're actually figuring things out that nobody knew before. And making, basically like documentaries. So
yeah, it is like a documentary. Yeah.
Really, really interesting. The main ones that I watch are Dan Olson Folding Ideas and H Bomber Guy, who people might know from.
Sorry if it's loud, guys.
What's loud?
If someone said the typing is loud. Yeah, because you could hear the clicky on the keyboard because of the receiver.
Yeah. H Bomber Guy Folding Ideas. H Bomber Guy, he takes like 5 years to make his videos now. But his last one was about plagiarism in YouTube specifically.
It's fascinating.
It's a 2 or 4 hour long video, but he absolutely tears people to shreds.
You don't know. I think the thing for me about H Bomber Guy, his name's Harry, is that you think that you've reached the conclusion of the video, and he has so many twists and turns, and he makes all of these connections between these, what you initially think are like disparate ideas. Super, super good. And Folding Ideas has done so many good videos. He
does a really good job of like breaking down like seemingly complex or mystified ideas into layman's terms.
Like crypto and NFTs.
Yeah, he talks a lot about crypto, like the tech world, the economy. He talks like he makes investing terms like easy for you to understand so that you can then understand how people are like using them to exploit you.
He talks about like anti-intellectualism. He talks about the Christian right in this country. He's Canadian.
Both of these guys got their start doing video game reviews though, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
There's other ones. I don't know who all is considered in BreadTube. I think there's Philosophy Tube, I think is a channel. They might be called something else. ContraPoints, I think, also is part of BreadTube.
I've never watched ContraPoints. I know she's been really controversial. But a lot of people on the left really like her. And I think she's friends with those guys. Yeah. Just looking through questions while you're...
She was like adjacent to the like shoe on head side of YouTube.
H Bomber Guy's video on how the anti-vaccine movement gained traction. Yeah, that's a really great one. It's a great video. Yeah. They can be a little bit depressing because they kind of expose.
Don't watch the H Bomber Guy video one on ghostwriters. It made me have ideations. I can't even finish it.
The one on ghostwriters, yeah.
Don't watch it. It made me so upset.
Someone said, "What's wrong with ContraPoints?" I think there's been some discourse around her. Again, if people know better than me,
each video is its own controversy.
Yeah, true. But I think there was a lot of controversy last year that people didn't like her position on Palestine, and she got like death threats and hate mail, and like for a long time, and it made her want to quit. What is the cool piece of furniture in the corner behind you? This one. That is, I'm going to say if there's any German folks on here, in the United States, the Americanization is shrunk. So it's just a little cabinet, shrunk, but Americans say shrunk. So it's a little cabinet that that my mom bought when we lived in Germany. I think she got it at some thrift store. All of the furniture in my house that I've inherited from my parents is either like a Manna Colonies that was like my great aunts or my grandparents, or it's stuff that my mom got basically in junk shops and thrift stores around Germany when we lived there. So it is just a little cabinet. I have yarn in it, and all of my hand knitted things are in it. There's a door there. I have to explain this all the time. I don't know why it keeps doing a thumbs up because it can send, okay. There's a door there that leads to the front door of my house. So my bedroom is, we live in a very small house, and my husband and I have separate bedrooms, which is fantastic. Highly A+ do recommend. Anybody who wants to have their marriage last 25 years, definitely recommend separate bedrooms. Okay. So my bedroom used to be like a little front parlor or sitting room. And so there's a door there, and then there's a door over there, and it connects through as a breezeway to the front door. And so if you open all of the doors, it cycles cool air up to the upstairs of the house. And because I don't want people walking straight from the front door into my bedroom, I have a dresser in front of it. Yeah. Someone said, does your clock not work? No, my clock definitely works. It's just very loud. So I've stopped it. I used to stop it for every video, and now I just have it stopped for now. It is from a bank in rural Indiana. My grandma got it when the bank was closing in the early 1950s. And she bought it for like $3 or something. And it was covered in black paint, and it was all alligatored and crackling. And my dad refinished it for her. And so now it's mine, but it does work. I just turn it off because it's very loud. I used to have it going in my videos and people would complain. Likewise, I have a cuckoo clock in the living room, and people would also complain that it was really loud.
Yeah. I looked up the official members of BreadTube because I literally only watched 2 of them.
Yeah.
To give people more context. ContraPoints, Lindsay Ellis. I forgot her. I used to watch Lindsay Ellis, and she had some controversies. I just don't really watch her anymore. Philosophy Tube is in fact a person. Abigail Floyd. Big Joel. My sister really likes Big Joel. I don't like him. I think he's vapid and annoying, but he's down. Hassan Abi. My siblings all like him. I don't watch him personally. I also kind of think he's annoying, but I appreciate his existence in the political social media ecosystem because he keeps people out of the alt-right pipeline, in my opinion.
I think he does keep people out of the alt-right pipeline. I think his fan base have an unhealthy parasocial relationship with him. Like Hassan fans, Bernie fans are.
My sister reads fan fiction about it.
We didn't tell you. I think that their fan base
That's
for both of those
guys
is.
Are, though. Like if you look at any of his stream comments, they kind of, it is kind of, it's almost a cult of personality.
It is. It is.
I don't know. He's like,
yeah. He's also, maybe this is controversial, but I think Hassan Piker insists upon himself too much. He's a little bit like, look how hot I am, ladies. He's always like, by the way, mogging is not the right term. What's the term?
Spitefully use the phrase insists upon himself because people hate it.
Yeah.
It just means pretentious.
He's also just a little bit like, he expects people to think that he's hot. And I'm like, but I'm like, it should be the substance of what you're, I don't know. It's just a little bit, it's giving Narcissus a little bit. Especially because for me, knowing that, my teenage sons like him and thinking how many adolescent boys really enjoy his content, he's really disparaging of his former self. And he has a lot of like fat phobic comments and a lot of like gym bro kind of comments that make me concerned for what he is imparting to his adolescent boy audience, if that makes sense. Right.
Yeah, he's kind of a, I know.
Yeah.
I can't really think of what apt insult.
You put too much cream on your tacos. That's true.
He's kind of a chucklehead.
Okay, I'm so sorry if you sent a message. Okay, I'm scrolling up through. Sorry, I was looking at Ruth and not looking at the questions.
So,
did you get my message?
Their message was, have you ever read Marx?
Yes, of course I have. Of course I have. Why do people always ask, have you ever read Marx, and they never ask, have you ever read Engels? Like it's always like, have you ever read Marx is a like, okay, we don't have to get started.
They don't call it Engelsism.
Yeah, that's true. So someone asked in the question, Voodoo Donuts or Blue Star?
Blue Star from ThunderClan?
It's just donut shop, and it's not Blue Star's nowhere near our house. So can I tell a 2-second story about Voodoo Donuts? So Voodoo Donuts, people know that I was a referee at Rose City Rollers for years and years. Both my daughters played roller derby, and Voodoo Donuts was a big sponsor, and that's because Rob Lobster was one of the founding members. He was a coach for Wheels of Justice for a long time. He skated with Bridgetown, and they had their MRDA league. He was the owner of Voodoo Donuts, and so they were a big sponsor. So we would often go there and support. Oh, it did freeze it. Thank you. We would often go there and support. I don't think their donuts are very good, you guys. I'm really sorry. So
Rob Lobster.
Yeah, Voodoo Downtown. There's a couple of different ones, but yes, that one. I think their donuts are really mid.
It's
Rob passed away many years ago, by the way. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually really like, there is Pips. It's by my sister. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pips used to be kind of just like a normal donut shop, and now they've kind of become the new Voodoo Donuts. They're super popular. They had to buy the restaurant next door to expand.
The Pips has the little teeny tiny donuts, and I really liked them because they treated their employees really well, and they always donated. There's been multiple charitable causes that I've gone to them and be like, hey, would you guys be interested in donating? And they're like, here's a $25 gift certificate for your charity raffle or what have you. Mm-hmm. And I think they also had good donuts with little rhubarb topping or Nutella topping. The lines can be crazy at Pips. Mm-hmm. So
I'm glad they didn't know the roller derby law. I was a roller derby captain back in the day.
That's right. Yes. Don't get me started on derby. I don't skate anymore. I haven't put on roller skates since 2020. It's the last time I skated. I'm done skating. But I have friends who are still officials and friends who are still skaters. Voodoo is mid for sure. Yeah.
It's more like the theatrics of it. It's like, oh, we're going to Weirdo Portland and we're going to eat these weirdo donuts. Oh, they have a cock and balls donut. It's so funny. But the donuts are they're kind of just
it's gimmicky.
I would say it's the exact same quality as donuts in a Winco, but staler.
Yeah. Wow, that's brutal. That's a brutal review. But it's not inaccurate.
Yeah.
It's not inaccurate. A lot of people out in East Portland really like Winchell's, which got renamed Heavenly Donuts, but I think the owners are yeah, they might have some problematic takes, but a lot of people really like the buttermilk bars at Winchell's or Heavenly Donuts. Thanks for letting us talk about donuts. Donut Day in Beaverton.
Ice skating. I've gone once. Listen, yeah, you guys are so against ice skating when I was little because I thought it was dangerous.
Yeah.
But I've only gone once at the Lloyd Center. Maybe more than once.
Yeah.
It was kind of traumatic, but not because of the ice skating. The ice skating was fun.
I've only been ice skating once that I remember when we lived in Germany, and I was 3 and a half. And the only thing I remember about it is that somebody gave me a cup of Glühwein, and I was like, this is gross. But they gave out cups of Glühwein even to children at the ice skating rink. That's the only time I've ever been ice skating.
Germany moment.
Could you guys talk about the recent trans legislation? Yes. Okay. So which part of it? There's so much. I did talk about how Kansas earlier this past week took away the driver's licenses of basically every trans person in Kansas. They immediately invalidated them. I'm really concerned about, I know that there's a lot of focus on the fact that the regime is coming for immigrants. And I think when we hear the first they came for poem, we can think that it's sequential, but really they're coming for multiple marginalized groups at once, right? Like more than 300,000 Black women have been forced out of the workplace in the last year. They're running full steam ahead with an ethnic cleansing against immigrants. And also the attack on trans Americans is just it's going everywhere. So it's very concerning. Yeah. I completely agree. We have to have our eyes on so many areas. When we look at nonviolent resistance movements, it's really, really key that we surround and support, not only have solidarity with, but actively defend the groups who are being targeted by the regime. So, yeah. Look out for your local homeless population. Also another group being heavily targeted. And I'm actually really concerned. So people may know that my other daughter, B, used to work in homeless advocacy for a long time here in Portland, and she's pre-law. So this is an area that I know a little bit about. Some of her writing was in a brief sent to the Supreme Court about some of the anti-homeless legislation in Oregon, Grants Pass in particular. I'm deeply concerned about how people are positioning Gavin Newsom already, which I think is ridiculous, as the front runner for 2028. He hates homeless people as much as Republicans do, because neoliberals, corporations, billionaires, like they hate homeless people. They hate poor people. And in a lot of places in the country, the homeless population, I think in Oregon, is about 11% veterans. In some places in the country, it's as high as 30%. It's often foster youth, young people who come from really unstable, abusive home situations, folks with trauma, and like the people who need the most protecting in society. And yeah, to me, Democrats and Republicans are not really different on that issue, especially if you're looking at liberal Democrats. You made almost no videos critical of Trump during his first term. You didn't talk about him during his first 4 years. Yeah, that's totally fair, because that wasn't the focus of my channel at the time. At the time, I was taking care of my mother, who had cancer, and my dad, who was blind and had dementia. And I was also really busy running other things in my life, and I wasn't making political content. That's totally fair. That wasn't the focus of my work. So
I was 13.
It doesn't mean that everything you see about me is what you hear or watch in a YouTube video. I just didn't, at that point, I did actually talk a lot about social permaculture and how permaculture was political, but I didn't specifically talk about Trump, because I thought, well, this isn't the focus of this platform. To me, it felt really important when Elon Musk and Donald Trump started to take over all of these federal agencies and dismantle USAID. I was like, actually, it's really important that I use every resource at my disposal, including my platform here. So yeah, totally fair though. I didn't really talk about it. I focused much more on gardening and like parenting and things like that during Trump's first term. It doesn't mean that I was for it. I was vocally against things that he was doing and actively working on. Oh, someone asked if this is for you, Ruth.
Sprichst du Deutsch? Nur ein bisschen. Es war mein Nebenfach, aber
Ruth is
sehr rusty. The last year of classes, year and a half of classes, had no Zoom, no in-person classes. It was only writing. So I'm basically several years out of speaking practice. So I've been meaning to go to German American Society or some kind of like volunteering and practice.
German American Society here in Portland is really active, and they have a monthly Stammtisch where you can go and converse with people in German. Ruth is really the only person, like my siblings speak German, but pretty rusty, but Ruth is the only one who's really like conversant. Someone says, oh my God, I was 13 too during his first term. Yeah. I have lots of thoughts about Trump's first term and how we ended up here, but maybe that's for another video. Do you find your permaculture avenue is kind of a reverse tradwife pipeline? That's a really good question. I don't know how many people I'm helping get out from having been indoctrinated for the right.
It's interesting because you are kind of in a circle that has a lot of alt-right pipelines, so maybe you're acting as kind of a Hassan or Eric common etiquette for like stay-at-home moms.
Okay, but maybe I should think more about how to use my platform in that way, because I hadn't ever really considered that. I know a lot of homeschoolers watch my content, or did before Trump got elected. And I know I've frequently interfaced over the years with people who were like libertarian, had much more conservative politics, homeschoolers. There are a lot of libertarians and there's a lot of LDS Mormons in permaculture. And a lot of my content during Trump's first term, during the Biden years, was much more like gently reminding people that actually these things aren't in keeping with the concept of fair share, and like a lot of your beliefs and a lot of your political ideology is not in keeping with either earth care or people care. I got a lot of hate from a lot of libertarian bros who, one, don't like women in leadership, or I don't even say in leadership, putting themselves forward as authoritative voices in permaculture, but also just didn't like the things that I was saying that were a threat to their libertarian ideology, right? Because a lot of those folks saw permaculture as a form of prepping or homesteading, and they didn't like me making videos being like, actually, I think homesteading is a settler colonialist term. I actually think it's really problematic, and maybe we don't want to be talking about homesteading in that way. Maybe we want to think about the fact that permaculture was founded by two white Australian men, and maybe we should be elevating the voices of Indigenous permaculture activists more. Yeah, so yeah, this actually gives me a lot to think about. Thank you. I think maybe I could be more effective in that way. Thank you for that.
Someone asked if your grandparents were German. I know in your family you have German descent on both sides.
I do. My great grandparents were from Germany. My grandma was 100% German, and on the other side of my family, my mom's dad's family is all German. So German from both sides. Yeah,
they're very culturally German.
Very cultural.
Tell you what.
Yeah. I don't know if other people are like, I've actually had people in my comments be like, my family still has a lot of very much cultural like practices around raising children and communication, and that they're still really German. A lot of that kind of heritage gets passed down. The German parenting was intense in my childhood, but not for you guys, right?
No.
You can say yes if there are things that, well, I broke the cycle with my poor eldest child, got the brunt of me figuring out, like, I don't want to do what happened to me as a child, but I don't really know what to do. So
German parenting is very, in one of my German classes, we had a whole block on like fairy tales. I feel like that is so exemplified in German fairy tales. I'd be like, this is Ernst. He did not eat his vegetables. And in the next page, he's under the ground because he has died, because the don't eat your vegetables fairy killed him.
It is a lot like German fairy tales, and it is a lot of that fear-based.
Yeah,
it's a lot of it's
very like you have to obey.
Yeah. Okay, so people are talking about prepping being an alt-right pipeline. Mormons are really into prepping. Our neighbors behind us for years and years were Mormons. Ruth and I could go off. The folks who we bought our house from were Mormons, and then they lived behind us, and they were constantly talking about prepping and wanting to give us their old Y2K supplies. They had like huge barrels of like wheat berries and oil and shit for Y2K when they thought that the world was going to end. So folks are saying, like, the minute I started learning about canning, my algorithm went way right. Completely agree. One of the things that my 17-year-old and I have talked about a lot, he's brought to my attention, is how during the 2020-2021 period, my kids spent a lot of time on YouTube, and Hal was really into video essays and history, but very quickly, in 1 or 2 clicks, he would get led down an alt-right pipeline, and how much he would have to stop himself and be like, whoa, my algorithm is shifting really quickly. I think that happened to a lot of adults as well in 2020 when we were all learning to make sourdough bread. Whatever, I made sourdough bread for way beyond. But a lot of, not to be smug, but like a lot of people were really into kind of homesteading, prepping, back to the land stuff in 2020 during lockdown. That was an alt-right pipeline for a lot of people. A lot of people got radicalized before that. But I think that period, you were searching up videos on YouTube. There is like a rebel canning group on Facebook that's really active. And their whole mindset is that USDA canning procedures are like a tool of oppression meant to like control you and prevent you from being self-sufficient. So they advocate for water bath canning green beans. They advocate for all of these practices that will low-key give you botulism. But they think that that's like it's like Maha drinking raw milk, right? That's a status symbol. Like, I'm not afraid to water bath can my salmon. And that can happen very, very quickly. 1 or 2 or 3 clicks. You're watching some reasonable person talking about how to make, current curd. And in 2 clicks, you're down an alt-right pipeline.
Well, there's also just a lot of that, like, purity of, like, we need to eat real food. The airtight solder on your cans is gonna give you Biden microchips, but my water jar eggs are more
water glass
spiritually pure.
Yeah. I completely agree. There was that whole movement, and that actually I think very much ties into the alt-right and like white supremacy and Nazism is this whole idea that became really popular in some of the crunchy mom groups I was in back in 2016, 2017 of fertilized chicken eggs are superior to non-fertilized chicken eggs. And like, you have to keep a rooster in your flock because you're going to eat like weak, inferior eggs if they're not fertilized. And that's completely baseless. But that was really, really popular before.
It's really giving like weird fertility myths.
It
like,
is, right?
Eat all these rare shark testicles or whatever. It's like, like the obsession with royal jelly. It's just,
yeah.
Are you a female queen bee? Like,
but I think that very much ties in. I did a video a little bit ago on under the Third Reich. They had all of these threats to manliness, and the concept of manliness for them is really different than it was for us. It was very much about being a father and being really involved with your children because it was all about procreation and breeding the master race. And so there was huge emphasis on fertility. And then also connecting at that blood and soil movement, right? The fertility of the land is connected to the fertility of the Aryan people. And so all of that rhetoric is all obviously tied to white supremacy. Yeah.
Someone's like crunchy mom group. Could you please define that?
Yeah. So crunchy is a term. Gosh, I used to call myself a crunchy mom because way back before I had kids, I was a really big fan of Mother Earth News. Huge fan of Mother Earth News. And crunchy just meant like crunchy granola. You were really into homemade, like you made your own hummus and your own granola and you had your sourdough and you had your jar of lacto-fermented pickles and you were really into sustainable living and natural parenting, cloth diapers, breastfeeding. And so crunchy moms were, I don't want to say like hippie earth mama types, but maybe, and it felt really neutral. Then it sort of became a precursor to MAHA, where crunchy moms became anti-vax, anti-science. They had all kinds of weird woo. Do you guys remember how prominent like essential oil stuff, Young Living, doTERRA, that was really, really prominent in evangelical crunchy mom circles, being afraid of Western medicine. And like, if my kid gets, I don't know, like impetigo, I'm going to rub oregano essential oil, not even on the rash, but like on their temples, and that will magically cure their impetigo. No, they need to go to the doctor and get antibiotics. That's a highly contagious rash, right? So that's what crunchy mom culture kind of morphed into. And I was in a number of Facebook groups and real groups, like parenting groups that would meet in real life at the time, that were based around extended breastfeeding and respectful non-authoritarian parenting and, co-sleeping and things like that. And those groups all very much became MAHA pipelines. I watched so many friends get radicalized and want to do all of these rituals that demonstrated to people, right? Like, I'm drinking raw milk. This is a loyalty to, sorry, I'm stomping too hard. This is a loyalty test. This is a way that I prove that I'm part of the in-group. And yeah, so that's kind of crunchy mom now has that connotation of woo, afraid of science, anti-vax, MAHA.
See, I think there's always been a hippie to alt-right pipeline.
I think so
too.
I think, yeah.
Crunchy, and now with how it's transformed into like MAHA, especially, like, has really kind of opened it up to a new market of like alt-right Christian people who are too scared of seeming pagan or like being an outright hippie is like too Eastern and pagan for them, but they still want to be like rejecting Western medicine and like anti-science, anti-vax. So there's a lot more marketing. I feel like before 2020, like around 2020, a lot of the marketing of that stuff was like spiritual woo-woo. I feel like now they're marketing a lot of it as like returning to traditional American. Oh, the pilgrims were all doing this. So we have to go back to our homesteading ways. Making it more.
Yeah.
The aesthetic, I think, is shifting, and a lot of that's because of RFK.
I agree. Somebody mentioned Naomi Klein, Doppelganger. Great book. A+, do recommend. Someone asked if I thought about being in a band or have been a singer. I was in a small band in college. I also was in choir. So yeah, I did sing. But no, not interested in that now. But thank you. I actually kind of find performing in public to be excruciating. which is totally why I was a referee for roller derby and had to speak on the mic on the live feed. It's totally why I do YouTube for a living. Yeah. I think also it goes back, someone said off-grid living. I think that it also goes back to that kind of Yahtzee blood and soil, this whole concept of taking a really good idea, wanting to care for the planet, wanting to care for our children, valuing the family, right? And like twisting it and perverting it and using it to further their agenda. This is why I think so many things can become an alt-right pipeline. It also, yeah, it just feels like they're really good at taking something that in and of itself is not bad. It's good to want to eat healthy. It's good to want to, and by healthy, I don't mean like clean or right eating. I mean, like we all deserve good nutrition. We deserve foods that are nourishing to us and that we enjoy eating and that are culturally appropriate. And taking that and twisting it into a purity test, into a loyalty test as a way to demonstrate that you're part of the in-group.
A purity test where to be pure, you have to eat just steak and no veggies.
Yeah.
It's very convenient. What's the everyone is 12 now theory? Of course you want to only eat steak and not eat your veggies. You're 12.
Yeah.
Except you're a 50-year-old magnet.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's not forget that Pilgrim's life expectancy was 25 to 35 years. So people, not to gross people out, I had this really awful abscess last week. Terrible. And it reminded me of how one of the most common causes of death in the colonial period in the United States was abscessed teeth. And mine wasn't related to a tooth, but really like uncomplicated bacterial infections killed people all of the time. And these are the same people, MAHA are the same people who are afraid of basic antibiotics. They're afraid of really basic medical care because of anti-intellectualism, eroding education in science. People are afraid of science because they don't understand it, right? Knowledge takes away fear. And for me, right, like my dad was a physician, my grandpa was a physician, my sister is a physician, my whole family, like we come from a long line of people who are in medicine. So I'm not afraid of it. But when I would interface with other crunchy moms, there was so much fear and distrust of Western medicine. And we can talk about how much of that is based in people's really negative experiences, having medical interventions that were unnecessary, or maybe they're from, like a minority group that has historically been exploited, right? Like we saw in 2020, a lot of Black folks were really afraid to, where a lot of Black folks were afraid of the COVID vaccine because of how much injustice and experimentation was done on Black women in particular by Western medicine. And so that fear is based sometimes in generational trauma and sometimes in indoctrination. Oh gosh, thank you. Social Circle Georgia. Yeah, what would you like me to talk about Social Circle Georgia? Actually I have notes on my phone. Do you want to chat for a second, Ruth?
Well, I was just going to add something on to
of course.
Before. My best friend in middle school and high school went down the alt-right pipeline and we're no longer in contact. But one of the biggest red flags for me, and this was long before MAHA was even a thing, this was like in the 2010s, was once she started getting really into raw feeding of her animals, even though I talk about that a lot, but I don't want to go on a tangent. But the other thing was she started being against antibiotics and pro using manuka honey instead. And like I could not convince her how honey is not the same thing as antibiotics.
Yeah, manuka honey is not. As beekeepers, people ask us that all the time. About honey and whether it can help with your allergies and whether it can treat infection.
Bea asked me about this earlier because she was like, well, can't it be used as an antibiotic? I'm like, well, it's not the same thing. Honey is just an environment where bacteria doesn't grow. It's really concentrated sugar. And like I think
it's like antimicrobial, but it's not
pH. So like you can use honey to preserve things, but that doesn't mean that it's an antibiotic medicine. It's not the same. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you're talking about Social Circle in terms of the ICE detention center there. I actually have a whole list of things. Referencing Newport, Oregon and how they stopped the ICE detention center there. I have a whole list. I want to do a compilation video talking about all of the different communities that have been in the news, pushing back against the ICE detention center. I think what's interesting about Social Circle is that it's a very red community that doesn't want that. And Newport, Oregon's a little bit different. It's more mixed. There's a lot of people who are very progressive in Newport because the EPA is there, because the Hatfield Marine Science Center is there. But there's also a lot of very, very conservative loggers and fishermen who live in that part of Oregon, and they didn't want an ICE detention facility there either. Yeah, I think, thank you for the reminder and the push to talk more about all of the different communities that are organizing, how they're really politically diverse, that nobody wants detention centers. And I think too, can I just go on a tiny tangent about that? I think there's an overlap between communities with diverse political positions pushing back against ICE concentration camps and communities with diverse political positions pushing back against AI data centers. I think it's the same fight, right? It's the same fight. It's the Epstein class. It's the billionaires, right? It's the same thing. It's absolutely the definition of intersectionality. What the tech bros are doing is having the same kinds of negative impacts as these detention facilities, and they're all about furthering the same goal, which is consolidation of power amongst the technocrat bros and the elites, and oppressing all of us. So
I think someone said they sent a earlier question with the donation, but I think I missed it.
I might have missed it. If you could repeat the question, I would love to answer it. I am not that great at scrolling back through the chat.
I also can't see you from back here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Why are they afraid of science? If you see the question, Ruth, will you be sure to ask it vigorously? I'm so sorry that I missed that. Absolutely. Please ask your questions. Why are they afraid of science?
Well,
I
it
think
makes people easier to control.
It's
if
fear.
they're scared and confused, and also turning away from the very things that are helping them.
Well, I think it's fear of the unknown, because the right has been so good at eroding scientific education. Us coming from a homeschool group community, right? Like my degree is in biology. When Ruth was really little, or actually when I was pregnant with her, I taught not only biology, but also earth science for some private schools and homeschool groups, like Christian private schools. Those kids were terrified of evolution. Their parents were really afraid of evolution. They didn't want me to talk about evolution. They wanted me to talk about how species aren't mutable. And I would do this little lesson, and we would talk about breeding, like dog breeds. And I couldn't talk about evolution itself, but just to plant the idea in these kids' brains that species are mutable and that they can change over time was as far as those families would let me get on that subject. They're really, really afraid of science because it is a threat to their religious ideology, and because they don't understand it. And that is something that then the right can use to control people. Knowledge is power. Knowledge takes away fear. Yeah. Did you see the question come back? Please ask your question again.
They haven't said it yet.
Okay, I'm so sorry that I missed it. A lot of homeschoolers are really afraid of science. And I think it's interesting to me that so many homeschoolers believe that the public school is indoctrinating their kids and denying them a rigorous education, but then they're doing the exact same thing, right? It's all about fear and control. And part of the reason that we really struggled with some of the homeschool groups that we interfaced with is because I wanted my kids to have a rich and diverse education. We're unschoolers because I want my kids to explore whatever they want to explore all the way down the rabbit hole. There's no subject that I want to keep them from being able to learn about, and I want them to have a really rich and deep understanding of anything, and especially science, right? We're a very pro-science family. So I always found that confusing. Like, why would you want to put your child out into the world ignorant of how the world works? You're setting them up to be exploited and controlled by other people, right? It never made sense to me.
Someone said dinosaurs were a really taboo subject. How some of my relatives have grappled with that. I remember my grandma said, well, dinosaurs were real, but only the ones that were on Noah's Ark.
Oh, my mom didn't say that.
No.
Oh, okay, good. I was going to say, Jesus. Sorry. My parents, my mom was a, fairly conservative Christian. My dad was an atheist. So our family was always really, really, really pro-science. And also, I think it made my mom really disillusioned with the Christian church because of how anti-science so many people were. If your religious ideology is so fragile that somebody becoming educated about basic scientific realities is a threat to their faith system, to their belief, then right, like maybe there's something deeply wrong with your ideology.
Can someone explain why so many Catholics are against the idea of atoms? I really see this a lot online. I can understand how like evolution might be threatening, but what atoms? Why do people think they don't exist?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Okay, yes. So can we talk about the shady purchase of the land in Social Circle, Georgia by ICE in order to build a new detention facility that will effectively triple the population and overwhelm the infrastructure? Thank you for that question. Yes. And I want to do a full deep dive on that. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
That's
I just
okay.
totally...
I'm going to go eat something.
Go eat, and I'll talk about Social Circle for a minute. So, and one of the things that I think, this is why I think what's happening in Social Circle overlaps with AI data centers so much, is that they're picking vulnerable areas of the country where people don't necessarily have the capacity. They're not affluent parts of the country, right? Like Newport, Oregon, where they tried to put a detention facility, is one of the poorest counties in Oregon. And so people who don't have the resources to combat what's going on, people who are struggling to just have their basic needs met, just keep their heads above water. And therefore, they're assuming that those folks don't have the bandwidth to see that there is a problem coming and then the resources and capacity to fight back against it. And then in places like Social Circle, but it's not just there, there's also a town in Arizona as well, where they're going to put these huge detention facilities. They're concentration camps. Why are we calling them detention facilities? Concentration camps. And it's going to balloon the population. They're not worried about having proper sewage or whether there's sufficient water or capacity to care for these people. And that impacts not only the human beings in concentration camps, but also the residents of those communities. It actually really reminds me a lot of Alligator Alcatraz, right? First of all, what happened to all those people that were there? A lot of them have been lost. But think about Alligator Alcatraz. There were lawsuits filed by multiple tribes and conservation groups that the sewage from that tent concentration camp was just being dumped into the Everglades. There was not enough water. There was concern about high humidity, mosquitoes, potential for diseases to be spread, the high amount of electricity that was being used. None of the infrastructure was there to support adding all of these people to these areas that just are not meant to, there's no setup there to sustain those. And then that impacts not only the residents, I should say, of the area and the environment, but also it definitely means that the people who are kept in those facilities will be subject to human rights violations. There's insufficient water. There's not enough clean water. There's not enough medical care. There's not enough food. We've already heard in Dilley, Texas, since at least May of last year, families have been fighting over water. There's not enough water. It's being rationed. And so this is happening everywhere. Social Circle, Georgia is not unique because this is the targeted plan. This is Stephen Miller's plan, is to do this everywhere. I know I like to say that the regime are cargo cult fascists, but there are really intelligent, evil men who are crafting some of these plans. Stephen Miller's plans are absolutely vile and vicious and meant to cause maximum harm, not only to the people in the concentration camps, but also to struggling American citizens in the towns where they're trying to put these things. I don't know if that answered your question or if you have other thoughts. After what happened with Alligator Alcatraz and how it opened and closed up so fast, kind of wonders what money is getting funneled into Geo Group. Well, also all kinds of contractors, right? When we look at these concentration camps, they are just a way to launder money. Just like Kristi Noem's $220 million commercial for DHS. It's a way to launder, it's about graft, how to launder tax money through these organizations. And I think that when we look at Donald Trump, everything he does is about corruption. It's all about money. It's all about taking our taxpayer money and giving it to these corporations, enriching men. Like capitalism is still happening. Capitalism is part of that trifecta of fuckery that I'm always talking about. White supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. They're using it to do evil as much as they possibly can. And because the economy is in an absolute shit state, the easiest resource is government contracts, is taxpayer money. So a lot of people are getting very, very rich off of this. Geo Group, I'm going to get it backwards. Geo Group and CoreCivic, one of them made $4.4 billion last year and one made $2.1 billion last year, 100% in government contracts in the United States. running detention facilities. And they've been making billions for years. It's big business. Ethnic cleansing is big business. Concentration camps are big business. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, happy International Women's Day. How does the war in Iran impact these concentration camps being built? Is there a way they are connected? That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I would love to know what people think. For me, I look at the war in Iran and I look at the concentration camps and the ethnic cleansing in the United States, and I can't help but think like, oh, do we not see the obvious connections to Palestine? Do we not see the obvious connections, the ways that the Israeli government has treated Palestinians? Our government is now treating immigrants in this country. The kind of violence that Israel brought to Palestine, Israel and Iran, that's all that same. That's the same thing. That's the imperialism of Israel and their desire. Bibi Netanyahu's desire as a malignant narcissist to do the things that malignant narcissists do, to warmonger. Yeah, how much did Donald Trump get paid to bomb Iran? This is a question that I've seen people posit quite a bit over the last few days, and not just pundits, but also members of Congress. It's hard to know. Is he paid? It's wild to me on some level to think this is a man who's pushing 80, has billions and billions of dollars. I think he's made $6 billion in the last year, just the last year. That he has an insatiable greed for money that can never be filled, and an insatiable greed for like violence and retribution that can never be fulfilled. And so to think that he could be bribed with money when he has more money than he could spend in the rest of his life, and so do his children, it's hard for me to understand that that would be a motivation. I think it is part of it. I really think they've got dirt on him. I think that there's leverage that they have that's not monetary. And also, he is the kind of tin pot dictator who idolizes other strongmen, and Putin doesn't idolize him. Bibi doesn't idolize him, but he idolizes all of those other dictators. He aspires to be like them, and they see him as weak. And that's why I call him a cargo cult fascist. That's Jamel Bouie's term. Someone said, what is cargo cult fascism? It's going through the motions of being a legitimate dictator without actually understanding what those actions and rituals mean and how they consolidate power. And that's one of the reasons I think Putin and Bibi in particular, they're not afraid of Donald Trump, because he doesn't understand the levers and mechanisms that they use in order to cement control in their country. They think he's we have the most embarrassing boob of a dictator. It's on some level baffling to me that we've gotten this far. Although, Ruth points out that if you look at Yahtzee Germany, all of their like Hitler was also really cringe and embarrassing, and it's kind of weird to look back at all of their rituals and performances. Oh, hello, and think that they were able to consolidate power and do so much terribleness. What'd you make?
Fingerling sandwiches, except I don't really like fingerling.
It's cucumber?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sandwich.
My
afternoon tea moment.
Yeah. So thanks to folks who are just joining. I didn't mean to stay on quite so long, but I'll stay on for a little bit longer. Please feel free and drop your questions. I'm willing to talk about anything. If folks want to talk more about Social Circle Georgia or detention centers, happy to do that. Happy to talk about knitting, unschooling, whatever you want. Thank you. Yeah, please let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, I will just ramble. And also, Ruth, interrupt me, or people feel free and interrupt me, because I will just pop off. Folks ask me all the time why I've been limiting my videos to 10 minutes or less, overwhelmingly. Part of that is because if you let me just talk, I will go on and on and on, and I will not be concise. So limiting myself to 10 minutes, first of all, that's what TikTok limits you to, but also it means that I have to not diverge on 20 different tangents. I put a video out this morning and had 2 tangents in it, because that's how my brain works. So hello in the UK. I know it's tedious sometimes defining and occasionally redefining some of the very intelligent jargon you use. Thank you for that reminder.
Am I chewing by the microphone?
Yeah, can I take your microphone off while you eat? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's going to be, people are going to, with misophonia, are going to get really... Thank you for reminding me to define terms that may not be universally understood. I really appreciate that. I'm not sure how to turn this microphone off. Do you know where the microphone case is? I think if I put it in the case. Let me know if the sound is annoying. I'll put this back in the case. I'm not tech savvy, so figuring it out as I go. If there's a term that you want me to define, please let me know. I'm so sorry. I tend to forget that not everybody universally understands all of the niche permaculture terms I might use or anything else. So
tangents are good. That's how H. Bomber Guy gets his best ideas, is random tangents he decides to look into.
Thank you, Ruth, for saying that. I think for me, my brain wants to go down a little bit of a pathway, and then I see wait a minute, this term or this concept connects to this other thing that I read, or this other moment in history, or this other completely seemingly disparate subject. And so I tend to think very non-linearly, and I know that that's a struggle for people sometimes to follow my thought process, which is why I appreciate people letting me be me on live and be unconstrained. Have you ever made any videos about gardening in a limited space rental property, or could you make ones in the future? Yes, I have made some. I'm getting ready to go on a trip here in a couple of weeks, and I'm pre-filming videos right now, late at night every day, that we'll be publishing during that time. And so some of the topics that people have asked me to cover that I'm going to try and cover during that time frame are pajama pants resistance, so things you can do from inside your house for resistance, and also ways you can do permaculture if you don't have access to property, right? So thinking in permaculture, we say, use the edges and value the marginal. So people who don't have access to land, how can you still be involved in permaculture in, I don't want to say sustainability, but resilience when it comes to food production? Likewise, if you're on the margins, if you are limited in your capacity and you can't show up to protests, or you can't go to in-person meetings, what are the ways that you could be participating in resistance? See what I mean about my brain wanting to connect different things? I think those are similar topics. So I'm going to be talking about that quite a bit. We lived in St. Louis, where Ruth was born. We lived in University City in a second floor apartment on Del Mar Boulevard in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. And we didn't have any access to land. And I grew a lot of food there in our balcony. And then out back in the parking lot, I had big buckets of tomatoes and I grew them there. So I'm familiar with growing food when you don't have access to land, particularly if you can't access a community garden space. And so I'm definitely happy to answer questions about that. I think that when we look at permaculture, a lot of people, preppers, libertarians, homesteady folks, conflate permaculture with gardening or small holding, homesteading, and it's really not. It's really a design system to make all of society more resilient. And it doesn't mean that we're all doing the same thing, right? Use the edges, value the marginal, use and value diversity. Some people in a permaculture system are going to grow their own food, not everybody. It means having just, sustainable, equitable, environmentally conscious food systems. And that's very different than what we have now, which is a profit-based, mega big agriculture food system. And so I don't think that people should come to permaculture and say, well, shit, I don't have room to garden, I can't do permaculture. Supporting local agriculture is a way that you can do permaculture. We're not all meant to do all aspects. For example, I don't have solar panels on my house. I'm not going to manufacture solar panels, right? But that's an important element of sustainable and resilient living that is accessible for some people. And so I don't know if that helps. If you want to grow food and you have limited space, that's awesome. Tons of ways to do that. Container gardening, accessing maybe your neighbor's yard, a friend who has a place that you can grow food, or community garden space. But also, you don't have to feel pressure to grow your own food. You don't have to be gardening in order to do permaculture. I don't know if that was helpful at all, but yeah. I do want to say too, when we lived in Siletz, Oregon, on the Central Oregon coast, we lived in a little duplex, and I didn't have any place there that I was allowed to garden. And we had a friend who lived, she was a member of the Siletz Confederated Tribes. And when that land was taken by the United States government, members of the tribe were given these 40-acre plots as kind of like recompense. It wasn't really. And so her family had her large property that had been passed down through the generations. And she said, would you like to come garden on my property? With a tractor. And we had a huge garden, 2/3 of an acre of just fruits and vegetables. And that was a gift that she gave me. I was able to grow food there, and she kept a portion of it, and I got to use her land and her well water to water the garden. I bought the seeds, I bought the plant starts, I did all the gardening. She got to harvest whatever she wanted out of the garden, and so did I. And it worked really, really, really well for us. So that's something to think about if you don't have access to land. Do you remember that when we would be at Debbie's? Yeah.
No little terror dog.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason that gardening in the country was sustainable, because she had a German Shepherd to keep the deer and the elk away, and she had.
No, I mean that little pug that would bite me.
Oh, I think it was that was one of her ratters, right? So she had dogs that were there to get the rats and voles and mice, and that's why we didn't have any problem with that in the garden. So, yeah. I would like to grow my food in my 40 square foot front yard that is 2/3 pavement. I want to share this. Okay. Another great resource. No, sorry, it's going to be clicky. Echo. That's a Christian-based organization, Ecological Concerns for Hunger organization. They're based in Fort Myers, Florida. Their whole focus is permaculture for subsistence communities around the world, and they have tons of resources. Sorry, I have something in my eyeball. Tons of resources for urban permaculture, including they have demonstration gardens about growing food in Mexico City on rooftop gardens. People who have no access to any soil, how can they grow their own food? So that's probably a good place to start looking at where you might want to grow, how you might want to grow food if all you have is a blacktop. Understanding that you'll probably use a lot more water, but there are ways to conserve water and grow food even if you don't have access to the subsoil and the water table. Where do we live in Germany? Frankfurt. My dad was at Rhine-Main. My dad was a hospital commander at Rhine-Main. Sarah Tabor, yeah, she's a friend of mine. She has a lot of information about farming and more about the industry of agriculture. Really good information over there. I've started lentil and kidney bean sprouts. Okay. I just want everyone to know, if we make it through this and have to learn to be self-sustaining post-apocalypse, I know how to make liquor. My best friend has a still, and I have given him items from my garden so that he can make things like brandy. So maybe this is I know this isn't exactly what you meant, but I think if first of all, we're not going to have an apocalypse, but I think the way that we function after this is that we're going to lean into community, and everybody's going to bring their skills to the table. And it's actually how we get through this right now, right? So I think there's absolutely a use for whoever is there who can make, medicinal products for us. Sorry, off topic, but has anyone seen T-Mobile is partnered with Starlink? I have not seen that. Thank you for pointing out that there's a petition. Yeah, gosh, I got something in my eyeball. I don't know if you can see. It's probably just an eyelash, probably eye winker.
Those are look in the mirror.
I might have to in a minute. Someone said using wood chips. Yeah, there is somebody on YouTube who became really famous. Oh, I don't know, during Trump's first term for his back to Eden gardening. Is that what he's called? He's a crazy No, he's a far right wing dude, but he's up in Washington State, and his whole thing was wood chip gardening, and that became really, really popular. And I immediately was like, whew, okay, I love wood chips. I have wood chips all over my garden. Great for weed suppression. To an extent, you need an underlayment of cardboard or some other compostable organic substrate. Otherwise, you're just going to get all your weeds coming through your wood chips. But he would be like, I'm going to just plant right in wood chips. That's how you end up with plants that do not have enough nitrogen. Wood chips are just like pure carbon and actually bind up nitrogen as they're decomposing. You have to plant through the wood chips into the soil below, and you have to add nitrogen amendments like urine, or you have to add like dog hair. That's what I use, right? Hair, sheep wool, that's a really good source of nitrogen. Manures, urine, etc., etc. Also adding nitrogen fixing plants in your garden. You can't just have pure wood chips. That's just pure carbon. They're fantastic as they break down though, right? They add to that topsoil. I use really thick wood chip mulch to conserve water and suppress weeds, but it's not a miracle, and it's more complicated than that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So good point. Good point. Wood chips are also, it depends on where you live. If you live in a really fire prone area, you can't put wood chips too close to the house. You need that fire perimeter. I live in Portland, Oregon, in the middle of the city. It rains 9 to 10 months out of the year here, and I am not in a high-risk fire area. If I lived in rural Central Oregon, Southern Oregon, I would not have wood chips anywhere near my house, and I would think about having my plants farther away from my house. In permaculture, we do site-specific design. And so no advice is universal. You want to look at the conditions of your site, your capacity as a gardener or homeowner or member of your neighborhood, what have you, and design accordingly. So yes, no advice I give is going to be like one size fits all.
Someone said, should I ask where you get the urine? Well, we don't use urine, but I'm sure you can use your imagination where you might acquire it.
What are you talking about? We don't use urine.
We don't? We
So-
do?
There have been times when we've needed sources of like more intense nitrogen, and you have two brothers, so there were
I was not aware of this.
Yeah.
I guess it just wasn't my task.
They call it what is it? What is it that they call pee in the garden? The golden miracle, or so there's some terrible term in permaculture for it. But people have always used pee in the garden, so it's totally.
Train your dogs to pee on.
Well, and you want to dilute it 1 to 10 with water, otherwise it can burn your plants, right? And you don't want to use it on your vegetables that you're going to be eating, but you can use it around your fruit trees or perennials or as you're developing a bed, right? People throughout history have always used urine in the garden. So I'm nervous about starting seeds. Any advice? Yes. Plenty of sunlight. I think the number one mistake I see for seed starters is that they don't have, I have to stop putting my thumb up because it's trying to encourage you guys to do an emoji reaction. So sorry about that. Not enough sunlight. And then you get really leggy sprouts. So having grow lights is really important if you're not growing in a greenhouse with direct sunlight. Your window is going to be maybe insufficient. I do a lot of seeds starting in the window seat in my front room, and that's 3 walls of windows. And even so, I'm constantly rotating. And when there's good weather, I'm hardening off fairly quickly so that my plants get enough sun. But making sure that you have sufficient sunlight. Also, not overwatering, dampening off is probably the second. Downy mildew. The 2 most common problems I see are those 2 from overwatering. Not overhead watering, water from the bottom for your seeds, and make sure that you let the soil dry out a little bit in between. Ruth, do you see any questions? Because I'm yapping. Oh, what kind of wood chips? Great question. Ramial wood chips are ideal. You want deciduous wood, fruit tree, oak, maple, fruit tree wood. Those are kind of the gold, like those are the most preferred. If you look at woods that are coniferous, they are more acidic. And there used to be a lot of concern of like, okay, they'll acidify the soil too much. And so we can't have coniferous wood chips. That's not true. When they are initially added to your garden, they're very acidic. Pine needles, pine chips, etc. As they break down, they become pH neutral. So by the time they completely decompose, they've not acidified the soil at all. If you're concerned about acidification in the short term, you can add some lime. I prefer not to use coniferous wood chips because a lot of the gourmet mushrooms in the garden, morels, stropharia, oyster mushrooms, etc., they don't really like to grow on those wood chips. And so if you only have access to coniferous wood chips, go ahead and use those. But if you have access to oak and maple and apple chips, like crab apple, that's ideal. There are
apples several times.
Yeah, we've gotten apples. In Portland, we get from whatever the utility companies are when they're doing tree trimming, that's what we get. So it's a mixed bag. You don't want you don't want walnuts. Wood chips that are high in juglone will suppress plant germination and growth. There have been a couple of good studies. One of my friends actually ran one of those studies about the decomposition of walnut wood chips and how long it takes for that juglone to break down or dissipate so that you don't get that allopathic tendency where your plants won't germinate and grow. It's about 18 months. So if I get walnut wood chips, what I do is I use them in the paths, or I put them in a pile and I let them break down for a while before I spread them.
Someone's asking us in the comments if we like BTS. I was a fan of BTS in 2016.
Wait, put your mic back on.
Oh. I was a fan of BTS in like 2016, but I have not really kept up with them, unfortunately. Someone asked, what's it something I was gonna respond to? Oh, houseplants. What they said, a lot of gardeners have strong opinions on houseplants. Do you like or hate them? Mom doesn't really have houseplants. I have more houseplants.
Ruth is the houseplant guru. You guys, I kill all my houseplants. I'm really bad at taking care of houseplants. So that's Ruth's wheelhouse.
I have too many, and there's not enough space, so I need to.
We have tons of houseplants.
I need to do some sacrificial culling or something.
The whole front room is just all houseplants right now. Because Ruth's really good at growing them. She's really good at reviving orchids, right? People often buy an orchid or they get gifted one. It blooms once and then they think like, well, that's done. No, Ruth.
My orchids bloomed yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
So for some reason, people think orchids they have an air of like exotic. They're hard to take care of.
Sorry, someone said it's not house rose permaculture. Thanks for saying that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, they think orchids are hard to take care of. They're not. They're literally the easiest houseplant. I promise you, if you just look it up for 2 seconds.
You should do a video on how to rehab your orchids so they bloom again.
I filmed one and then something happened. My orchids, there's a greenhouse accident, all of them died. But I still haven't filmed on my phone.
Grandpa had a stroke. It wasn't like life just got, yeah. So can I interrupt you really quickly before this question disappears? Someone asked about whether your nose ring hurt to get.
Not really. So it's this. Septum ring is literally the easiest piercing you can do ever because there's a part in your nose where there's like the front cartilage and then like the rooted in your face cartilage. Between that, there's a very, very thin piece of skin. It's like thinner than your eyelid skin, and if you just go through there, it doesn't hurt at all. And it heals really fast.
Oh yeah, we'll take her. I'm not really knitting very much in this live stream. That's okay.
Someone commented on it earlier.
I know. Sorry, you guys. The knitting that I've done, I've had to rip out multiple times because I messed it up.
Not a few hours. It's not morning or this afternoon. So.
Well, I mean,
she did this morning. Yes.
Okay. Martha needs a haircut really bad, so because she's a rescue from Mexico City. She gets really cold in the winter, so we let her get really shaggy. She's usually hiding under a blanket. Martha's our dog that we stole from my sister. So she loves it here. She and our poodle Apollo, she's Apollo's therapy dog. So yeah, they sleep on top of each other.
She sleeps on top of him, or he sleeps with his head on her like a pillow, or she sleeps with her face buried in his butt crack. It's disgusting. But she loves
They're a little, yeah.
Codependent.
Apollo's sister passed away a year ago, and we adopted them from Poodle Rescue, and they were littermates, and like really littermates should not be adopted together, and it can cause littermate syndrome. And we adopted them when they were 5, and they were really even more than codependent. Like Athena was Apollo's therapy dog. Basically, he couldn't find. He's very, very neurotic and anxious, and he's a very sweet boy. So when she passed away, it was going to be a bad scene for him. And Martha was already, she would visit here frequently. And she and my sister's other dog really do not get along. And so she just sort of ended up staying here and then never going back. Yeah.
Is she a Schnauzer? She is, according to the DNA test, which those things are like based on self-reported DNA. So take it with a grain of salt. She's a Chihuahua, Poodle, Schnauzer, and not like her.
She doesn't really shed. She's like
a terrier also.
Yeah. But she definitely has miniature Schnauzer in her. Yeah. She doesn't shed very much.
She doesn't shed at all.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
That's why it just grows forever and we have to get her shaved.
Yeah.
I was going to explain how to not kill orchids. Listen, it's very easy. I think you're stretching my sweater.
Oh, I got you.
It's very easy. So when they sell you an orchid, listen up. When they sell you an orchid, they are going to give you one that is in a container that has no holes in it, and they're going to give you one where the roots are wrapped in plastic. So orchids, for the most part, unless it's like our weird Oregon orchids, are arboreal. So they grow on the side of trees. They need a lot of air on their roots so they don't get root rot. Mm-hmm. So when the roots are wrapped in plastic, when you water it, then it just rots and molds. a lot of people also, they think, oh, I killed my plant because I didn't water it enough. Most people water their plants too much.
Great. Okay.
Overwatering doesn't mean how much water you add. It means not letting it dry out between waters. So when you overwater a plant, you're not letting it dry out in between. You're keeping it constantly wet. Most plants, they'll rot if you keep them constantly wet, especially orchids. So when you get an orchid, its roots are wrapped in plastic. It's in a jar with no holes. Then you just pour water on it. It's just going to die. And that's what they want. They want it to bloom once and then die, and then you buy it again. But they'll live for years and years and years and years and bloom multiple times if you don't kill them. So take the plastic off. That's the number one thing. Some people grow them in moss. I prefer to grow them in bark, but I'm sure you can grow them in moss. And then orchid pots have holes in the side. You can also have a decorative pot with no holes as long as it's in like a plastic pot with holes inside that, but that's still not ideal. They specifically make orchid pots. You can find them anywhere.
Someone said the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Great orchid lesson. My grandpa was a farmer. My mom was a huge gardener, and my mom and Ruth were both really, really good at houseplants. And I'm glad that that's her wheelhouse, because
I'm not even great at houseplants. Orchids are just easy.
I just want you to know, the whole time you're talking, Martha is acting like she's just chilling here, but she keeps looking over at your sandwich, and
that's the only reason
she then keeps looking over at me to see if I'm looking, because she's waiting for me to look away so she can grab your sandwich. Just so you know, that's what's happening. How about like 10 more minutes ish? Does that sound okay? Thanks for everybody who's been on here and hanging out with me. I really appreciate y'all. I have videos that I've got to film today, and I actually have a meeting this evening if I'm feeling up to it.
Someone said you inspired me to buy an orchid. I would almost say you don't even need to buy them, because everyone is always giving them away because they don't know how to take care of them.
Yeah.
I've been gifted probably like 20 orchids.
How about asking on Buy Nothing? Because I feel like we're at a period right now where people got orchids at Valentine's Day. They're about to be done blooming, and people are going to want to get rid of them. I would ask on Buy Nothing.
Ask Buy Nothing, or even just any local Facebook group, even if it's like not giving away things, like a local plant or bonsai group. Just ask, does anyone have an orchid that they no longer want, and then rehabilitate it? Find a potted orchid in the trash can. It's perfectly fine. See, I have gotten so many like that. All you have to do, take the plastic off, put them in a good pot. Like, you can water them once a week. Like, set a weekly reminder on your phone. Water them once a week.
No, we've not been to Hawaii for roller derby. I've never been to Hawaii. I would love to go. There's a lot of permaculture there. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm feeling okay. I just, oh my gosh, it's like totally TMI. I'm on really whopper antibiotics for this abscess that I had, and I didn't feel great about taking the max all the way downtown.
You're an IBS warrior.
I'm a little bit of an IBS warrior right now because I'm on whopper antibiotics.
No ice cubes and orchids. Whoever invented this ice cube trend is, I don't even know what's wrong with them. Why would you add ice cube and not it slow releases? That's not the problem. The problem is not letting it dry out. So then you might like freeze your plant, like give it a freeze burn. Just add normal water.
You know what? I think it's one of those, that ice cubes on plants thing is one of those viral trends that people bought into that are just like, a little bit slop. It's like how on Facebook and Instagram, there were all of those people doing strawberry gardens in gutters. That was the big thing for a long time. And I was like, guys, there's like a half an inch of soil in there. Your strawberries are going to need to be watered constantly, and just like get strawberry pots. If you want to grow strawberries in containers,
we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We already have things.
Like that doesn't work well. And also, I'm not sure what all of those gutters are made out of and if they're a safe place to be growing food. But also, like, your strawberries are just going to bake in their strawberry pots already have holes in the side, but then sufficient, soil, sufficient substrate to have enough moisture. If you were to have that strip of gutter just like baking in the sun, all of your strawberry plants, you have to water like 3 times a day. Yeah.
I think part of it, these like viral hacks, is like so many people, houseplants are like mystified. Everyone's like, oh, I kill my houseplants. And really, like, if you just have the right kind of soil and pot and you don't overwater them, houseplants are really easy.
Mhm.
I am no expert. I just really like orchids.
But it's intuitive to you because I'm really good at plants outside, but I always kill my houseplants. I think a part of it too is I would rather be
What are
outside.
you talking about, girl? You had an abiprenum that got huge, and
I did have a
can't get
huge
mine to
abiprenum.
grow at all.
Yeah. Strawberries just run wild in my yard. I have an old video on ground cover. I think strawberries are some of the best ground cover plants in the Pacific Northwest. We have a couple different species of native strawberries, right where they're like fairy strawberries. They're this big, coastal strawberries. Great ground cover. Fantastic ground cover. They do go dormant in the winter, so you got to have them interspersed with wood chips, but I think they're wonderful, and the bees then love the flowers. We have strawberries everywhere. Instead of having a big open strawberry patch, I just put random strawberry plants all over. And then I think they're broken up a little bit, and then the birds and slugs don't all go, oh yeah, like those people who are like painting your rock like to look like a strawberry, and that's going to distract the birds because they'll peck on a rock painted like a strawberry, and then they won't go for your strawberry. That doesn't work, you guys.
Someone said the ice cube hack is lazy watering. But here's what I understand. How is it less work to go pick up an ice cube than to pour water? Like, then you have to hold a cold ice cube, and like if you don't have an ice maker, you have to like pour it in the mold.
But people think that people think that it's slowly dispersing the water, but the plant doesn't need it like that, and it'll melt in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, like it doesn't need to be slowly dispersed. Really, it's really just people overwater them.
Yeah.
That's like 99.999%.
Straining to hear. Okay, Ruth is quiet. These are decent microphones. These are swanky microphones. Ruth has got a very quiet voice, so please definitely feedback.
How do you know if you're overwatering? Okay, good question. So the next time you go to water the plant, is the dirt still wet? And like you might even like dig in there. Is it dry on the top but still like damp on the bottom? If it's dried out, then you're not overwatering. But if it's consistently wet every time you water it, then you're watering too frequently. You need to wait longer.
My rule in the garden too is assessing moisture. I typically put my finger in this, pull back the mulch, put my finger in the soil. If it's dry 2 knuckles down, then maybe my annual veggies need watering, right? And then not being deceived by the mulch can be really, really damp or really, really dry. And that doesn't actually matter that much. You need to see what's happening in the soil underneath. Yeah. No problem with the sound. Thank you. Oh gosh, no worries. Ruth has a very quiet voice. So I just meant like, I understand that people have struggled with the sound on my videos, and I really want to make it better. I want to make sure that people can hear me. You should stick to permaculture. Your geopolitics is toxic. Mainstream media. Nothing that I say is, I don't like mainstream media, but you know what? I get this comment all the time
Permaculture is political.
Permaculture is intensely political. You can't
Cry about it.
You can't do permaculture and not be political. How can you uphold the ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share in a capitalist, oligarchical, fascist hellscape? You can't. There's no way to live in the United States to uphold the values and ethics of permaculture and not be political. Yeah. Anybody who thinks that the current regime is not something that permaculture people should be deeply concerned about and organizing against doesn't understand what permaculture is, which I'm happy to educate you. What's your most difficult outside plant? Nobody puts baby in a corner. Thank you. Okay. My most difficult outside plant I took out, and that was apricots. And I love apricots. They're probably my favorite tree fruit. Although if you ask me next week, I'll have a different favorite tree fruit because I love fruit. In the Pacific Northwest, it's almost impossible to grow apricots without using fungicides. They are prone to...
That's true. When I worked in Portland nursery, they would just, they would get damaged out before we could even sell them. Yeah, they get so many different kinds of fungal and bacterial problems. They get shot leaf disease. They get... all kinds of different gamosis from both bacterial and fungal sources. They get bacterial canker. They get powdery mildew. I love, love, love apricots. They really do much better in California where there are longer dry periods. And so I grew an apricot the first 2 or 3 years. I had beautiful crops, and then it was just plagued.
Even though I tried to prune to have it really open and good air circulation, I'm not willing to expend huge amounts of time on plants that are really labor intensive, and I'm not willing to use inorganic pesticides and herbicides and fungicides. Even organic copper fungicides are really toxic to a lot of the soil microbiome and also to a lot of insects, and they're not really good for people either. And so organic doesn't mean less toxic, right? So for me, I took out my apricot tree. And my dad actually used the wood from it because he was a woodworker. It was very beautiful wood, and he made some pocket knives and things from it. So I replaced it with figs, and figs are zero. Other than pruning, figs need a ton of pruning, but the fruit itself, no diseases, no pests. The only pests you get are like birds that want to eat some of the fruit. They'll peck the ones on the top, and the ones underneath are totally fine. So
someone asked if there's a good place to buy pawpaws in Oregon. So
yes, I have tons of suggestions. Yes.
Well, I was gonna say they don't keep for very long, so almost nobody sells them. You kind of have to like know someone who has a tree, and then or like you can ask in.
I thought they meant a place to buy pawpaw trees.
Oh,
yeah.
The fruit. So you kind of, I would almost like if I didn't have a pawpaw tree, I would go in like the local Facebook group and ask if anyone would be willing to like sell some out of their yard because you have to get them the same day up. The only place I've ever seen them sold ever was a Thai grocery store.
Lily Market. If you're from Portland, Lily Market sells them.
No, they sold them once. Out of.
I think somebody brought them in from their garden. Yeah.
So you go to them. That store now, they won't have them, but I've seen them sold there one time.
I'm going to talk up here nursery if you want to buy pawpaw trees. I'm going to talk up One Green World Nursery, which is based in outer southeast Portland. I think they're like, what is it, like a Foster and 152nd or something? They are kind of the premier permaculture fruit nursery in the United States. And any of my fruit trees that I did not graft myself at grafting workshops, right? The Home Orchard Society, which no longer exists, used to have this scion fair, and you could buy rootstock for $5, and you could get all of the scions for free. So you could get your rootstock and graft on whatever. I have tons of trees I've grafted myself, but all of my pawpaws are from One Green World, and a bunch of my other trees are as well. My persimmons are from One Green World. Huge catalog. They ship all over the country. I have 3 improved Peterson pawpaws. There are more varieties available now. It's almost overwhelming how many varieties of pawpaw there are. In my experience, there are, I think, sunflower and one other are the self-fertile, the pawpaws where you don't need a pollination partner, like a seedling or another variety. I don't like the flavor of those as well. I think they have a little bit more of that unpleasant quality to them. I don't like them as well as the Peterson pawpaws. But One Green World Nursery, they're based in Malala, Oregon, and their actual like storefront is in Southeast Portland. Yeah, I'm looking at questions. Maybe you could give people some tips on how to save money when setting up and getting their grows started. So absolutely. When we started our garden, I think a lot of folks know we have a land trust house. We were really, really broke. My husband worked for the Native American school in Portland, and I was doing actually online editing for some online publications and like writing copy for their website and stuff, and then homeschooling my kids. And we were really broke. We could barely afford a house, and I wanted to do a big permaculture garden, and I couldn't afford like anything, right? So the first thing that I did was I sheet mulched a bunch of my garden. I got cardboard from the local grocery stores, but also like appliance stores are a great place to get huge pieces of cardboard because all their refrigerators and stoves and things come in them. And then I sheet mulched my garden, and I bought as much manure as I could afford, but then I brought in tons and tons of wood chips. And I said, there's places in my garden where I know I have no topsoil at all. It was just clay and rock subsoil. Okay, the first thing I need to do is build topsoil. That's really cheap if you can access free wood chips. And I put out the word on permaculture places like different forums I was on and Facebook groups at the time, like Yahoo groups. We were still using Yahoo groups. And I said, anybody have goat manure, rabbit manure? If so, I'll come pick it up. And so I just brought in all of those free sources of organic material, and I let time do its thing. And in the Pacific Northwest, it's very rainy. And so wood chips break down mild, rainy climate, wood chips break down very quickly. And so that's how I built up that topsoil very inexpensively. And then I bought fruit trees, or my family would gift me fruit trees for Christmas or my birthday as we could afford them. I think the most important thing to get in the ground is your fruit trees after you have your good garden plan, because those can take years, right? Persimmons, pawpaws can take 7 years before they fruit.
You should plant that fruit tree I got 4 years ago.
Yeah,
It's
we
still
still
in a
have
pot.
we have an apple tree in a pot.
It's an Asian pear.
I have a question up thread. Okay, I'm gonna look. Sorry. Pawpaws are not local to the Pacific Northwest. By the way, they are local to the United States, native to the United States on the other side of the Mississippi, on the other side of the Rocky Mountains. They're not native out here. I don't grow all natives. I grow a lot of non-natives. And because of that, pawpaws require a lot of babying. I've seen a lot of Portland gardeners fail to get their pawpaws going. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking for the question. Let's see if I can find it. I'm a pure blood free thing. Ooh, okay. I would, the phrase, okay, we're going to just leave that comment be. I'm not going to kick you from the stream, but I'm really sorry that you're tired of leftist BS. But it's not BS. It's just a different way of thinking that really challenges the way we've been raised in the US to have toxic individualism and to trust our oppressors to do the right thing. Corporations are not going to do the right thing by us, and neither is the government. I actually don't mind people being on stream. I think it's fine to be here and think that my ideas are garbage. That's cool. You're now exposed to my ideas. And anytime we expose ourselves to something different, there's the potential to learn and grow, right? Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find your comment. Person who had a question. Up thread. Allison, I'm looking. I'm looking.
I'm to scroll with the touchpad.
I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm a little bit. Oh, can I explain what permaculture is in a couple of sentences? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Allison. Okay. Permaculture is a design system created in the 1970s by 2 Australian men. And it's really not about gardening. It's really about using a set of 12 principles. I have some videos where I talk about what all those 12 principles are. You can go watch them. That is meant to help us craft ways of living that heal our relationship with the planet and with other people. It's not just about sustainability. It's not about self-sufficiency. It's about community interdependence and interdependence between people and the ecosystem, because we're not separate. People are part of the ecosystem. So it's thinking about how we design not only our individual households and not only our interactions with the garden and with nature and with other people in a way that is regenerative, but how we structure our whole society, our food distribution systems, our education systems, our government systems, to not only be like sustainable, but to be regenerative, to heal all of the damage that capitalism and extractive processes have done in the past, and to move forward in a way that is giving us an abundant lifestyle, right? Does that help explain it at all? Right? So we have to think far beyond gardening. Because Mollison and Holmgren designed permaculture with subsistence communities in mind, the focus was going to be on growing food, because it was about making sure that people had their basic needs met first in a way that didn't overgraze or exploit the planet and didn't rely on exploitive labor from other people. So that was the initial focus, was permanent agriculture, but it's far beyond that. It's also permanent culture. I could go on about that for so long. I have 10 years. I've been talking about it for 28 years, but 10 years on social media. So let me scroll up here and see if there's another question. As a resident of Southern Oregon, future and Western, I value your voice on permaculture and socio-political culture also. Thank you, J Jazz. So Southern Oregon, gorgeous, gorgeous. I think people who aren't from Portland or aren't from and haven't traveled around the rest of Oregon, and people who aren't from Oregon at all don't realize how different the rest of the state is, not only politically and culturally, but also in terms of being entirely different biomes. When I say it's rainy in the Pacific Northwest, I'm really referring to Portland and our area where we are west of the Cascades, right? Central, Southern, and Eastern Oregon, very different. Lots of high desert, very dry, low population density, really, really different climate. So I didn't mean to paint with too broad of a brush there. The rest of Oregon, super, super different from Portland. Even if you just go a little bit south, right, where like Eugene, Corvallis, suddenly you're now in this kind of oak savanna. It's hotter. It's a little bit colder in the winter and hotter and drier in the summer. All of those microclimates we want to exploit in permaculture to our advantage. Ruth, what's your favorite plant to plant? You got asked.
Oh, outside or inside? 'Cause inside, still orchid. Outside, to plant, like, what's the most fun to physically put into the ground? Probably native currants. When I was doing restoration work on the Columbia Slough, that was really fun to plant. We would dig holes and put them in and then put mulch around them.
Yeah, if there's a troll in the comments, let's let him stay and learn. But you can totally report them if you want.
Paint.
If somebody's a problem in the comments, we can totally just gray rock them. And if I find him again, I'll just mute him.
Water hyacinths. I was just telling my friend about this yesterday. I love to paint water hyacinths.
Oh yeah. You do a lot of painting of plants, though. You did an epipremnum in one video, in one painting, right? Right with that.
Probably at some point. Well, here's my persona with a water hyacinth. Tribute to my pet water hyacinth that died in a squirrel accident. Here's actually a picture of it. And it's then next to my Wings of Fire persona.
That's right, a squirrel went nuts over your water hyacinth and destroyed it.
My water hyacinth.
I don't know if that's it. It's not going to be okay.
But it bloomed for one day and then a squirrel ate it. It lived for many months in multiple jars, and then I would take it out to a big tub of water for enrichment. They are invasive, but you are allowed to have them in Oregon because our winters get cold enough to kill them. So if it gets out into the pond, it won't take over.
Yeah, it died in a squirrel accident. Great line. It's not even like an accident. It was like a malicious.
Accident as in, I don't know if it was trying to eat it, but it was. I don't know if it was trying to eat a water hyacinth, but it did because it was trying to eat everything.
Yeah. We'll have to get you another one. All right.
Why does it fall asleep at
Martha's sushi. Yeah. Yeah. I think I did block them. So okay, we went over. I ended up saying I was going to go 10 minutes, and I went 20 minutes. What time is it, you guys? It's 3:30. Thank you for hanging out with me. I really appreciate y'all letting me just yap about whatever. I really like the AMA. People ask really good, thoughtful questions. And if there are subjects that you want me to talk about on live, I'm going to try going forward to be really intentional about doing a permaculture live once a week, and then maybe like an AMA or a political live. I'm also thinking about doing, a bunch of my mutuals do kind of a like Amanda Nelson and Heather Cox Richardson and Knitting Cult Lady often do like a compilation. Like I'm going to talk about a number of subjects in one video, either on a live or people in advance say, will you talk about this particular subject? I think I'm going to do more of those longer videos once a week as well. So thank you for watching. Thanks for being here with me, letting me stumble through everything. And yeah, y'all are awesome. I got so many good tips and insights. I really, really appreciate the person, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, who said that I could think about my channel as being kind of a reverse tradwife pipeline. How can I utilize my channel better if people come here looking for permaculture and they get ticked off because there's politics, or they come looking for homeschool content? How can I leverage that for good? How can I be the Eric Salvia of permaculture? Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me for so long. I hope you guys take care and you enjoy the rest of your Sunday and enjoy International Women's Day. I'm going to go film some video. I'm going to eat some lunch and then film some videos and then hopefully go to a training meeting later tonight if I'm feeling up for it. Are you going to do anything cool for the rest of the day? Homework?
I have to do a taxonomy thing and then some peer reviews.
Do you want to watch some Edwardian Farm tonight?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do that. And I'll actually, you know what? Maybe I will set the goal of by the next time I do a live, I will have gotten through all of the halibut thing and I can actually knit online. Okay, I'm yapping too long.
Crazy because You know the thing that's like never knit someone a sweater or your relationship will have ended by the time you're just casual because it takes so long to build a sweater. You're just casually like next time I have a live stream I'll have finished a sweater.
You know how I knit. You know how I knit. Okay. Okay, thanks y'all. You take care. I'll see y'all next time.
Bye bye.